Hello, hello, hello. This is Sade Camille, and welcome to another episode of From Her View podcast. Extremely excited for today's episode, which is a part of a series that I'm really excited to bring to you today. And the series is called Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself, baby. And it's all about self assessing. So, one of the things that I kind of pride myself a little bit in is self-awareness. I feel as if, not I feel, I know, I think that I know that I know that I think that I am for sure that a lot of people lack self-awareness when it comes to um, various natures of themselves. We don't come with a manual, just like parenting doesn't come in with a manual, just like adulting doesn't come with a manual. There's so many things that we have to navigate through life and learn on our own via trial and error. But going through years of leadership and several series of self-assessing done on my own volition, but also done, for character building purposes, or not character building purposes, but just for self-awareing purposes, through different programs, through different leadership opportunities that I've had. And so I thought it would be really nice if I shared some of those with you, and you would have the opportunity to do a little bit of navigating on your own to see if this would be something that you're interested. I think that these have been very helpful for myself, and it's also very helpful for you to refer back to these continually, because there's times where like I've done it, I did it, okay, whatever, and I didn't take the time to refer back to them. And I think that that's extremely important, to refer back to this information, because it is going to give you another layer to yourself. So, the assessments that we will be going over today are going to be the DISC assessment, DISC assessment, the Myers-Briggs, and the Clifton Strong assessments. And the reason that I liked these particular assessments is because they opened up a lot of information about myself in varying ways. What does that mean? So, the Meyer-Briggs is very popular. Everybody's heard of it. For a long time, everybody was taking the assessment or trying to find dupe assessments and everything like that. But it exposed a part of who you are and didn't really change much of anybody. It's either you knew who you were and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like you just took the test to take the test just because people were like, what are you? And you didn't do anything else with that information. Then we have the Clifton Strongs, which is something that's a little bit newer for me. That's actually my most recent assessment that I took. And this one is all about your strengths, which I absolutely love. Because we all have strengths. And with strengths, there are things that come absolutely easy to us and is something very difficult for other people. These are the things that you're constantly getting compliments about, that people are constantly astonished of. How are you doing this? And for you, it's just another Tuesday. That's your superpower. I am a firm believer that God has given us all gifts, and these gifts vary in so many ways, but they're so instrumental for us individually as their own, but very similar to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Once you combine those things together, they create something magnificent. And so that's why community is extremely important, for you to be able to find your tribe, for you to find your people. And that is what From Her View is. It is a place for us to find our people, find people that are on a like minded journey that are looking to improve upon themselves in every aspect of life. I'm not only focused on things like this, my self assessment, as far as like the inner work, but there's layers to it. You know, there is spiritual work. So spending time with God, listening, hearing his voice, you know, having those business meetings and conferences with God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, you know, being a part of that. Also taking more intentionality when it comes to my health and fitness and working out. I mean, I had one of the rarest conditions happen to me, that if I wasn't like, hey, what the heck is this? And went on Google and did a little bit of research and was a little bit more proactive about seeing a physician, I wouldn't be sitting here before you today because my mainframe was under duress. So you have to think about yourself in all aspects of life. And that is why I absolutely love E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, which I have done an audio bangers review on his book, UOU. But one of the things that I enjoy about his podcast, which is the Secret to Success podcast, with him, Carlos Quinney, with Carl and Jamal, is that they don't they're like great men, they're wonderful men, all of them are husbands, just passionate about what they do, passionate about helping others, and passionate about serving. One of the things that I love about them absolutely is they are not entertained, moved, shaken by a person who's like, oh, I'm killing it in business, but my marriage is suffering, or I'm killing it in my marriage, but the relationship between my children are suffering. He says, I respect people, mainly he's talking about men, but I respect men that are committed to winning in every single area. And he's telling you it can be done. And it's very easy to do if you're going to be intentional with your time. It takes planning. One of the things that I like to say is, I want to happen to my day. I don't want my day to happen to me. And we are all human. Some of us need our lazy days, especially if you're a woman and you're going through your luteal phase, baby. You need a lazy day. I had to take a little bit of lazy time today because I was like, child, you know, I had went to a concert last night and I was just like, I just need a, you know, recoup. And I can feel my body's like strength just depleting from the joys of being a woman. And I really was like, hey, that's okay to feel those things. We can't ruminate there long. I still can get conversations in with my kids, taking temperature with them. I still can, you know, have my time with God. I can still give myself um, a report card, if you will, which I, you know, 12-week year, atomic habits, they do have their own variations of like a report card. I don't track it in any form, but I kind of like give myself a little quick overview of it. And that's something that we have to do. I think I would be more successful because all of those systems, you would have more success if you track it. And the funny thing is I'm analytical, so that would kind of be exciting for me. But I wish I could, you know, people boop, 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 and just print it out and not me have to do it because that is not my strong suit. But, or it's something that I'm capable of doing, but it's not my favorite thing. So, I really wanted to talk about these assessments. So the Myers-Briggs, they break it down into 4 letters, and your letters indicate, you know, various things about yourself. And then we have the DISC assessment, which is something that I was introduced to from E.T., the hip hop preacher, and following their movement. And they call it the flight assessment, which is the DISC assessment still, but they use the analogy of flight as far as pilot, air traffic control, flight attendant, and there's one other person that I can't for the life of me remember that other one. But they utilize that in a way to speak to what your strength is. And I enjoy that one because it tells you your varying strength in every single area. Because the D, the I, the S, the C, they stand for something. And we will go in that once I reveal to you what my results are. And because it's a better way to explain what these things are. So we have that one. Not only is that one awesome because it's shedding light on your strength, but it's also shedding light on your weaknesses, or not even like the areas of which you don't have the greatest strength in. And I like that because it almost lets you know what other type of people that you need to be around. Obviously, you need to be around some people that have a little bit of likeness to you, but you also need to be around people that fill in the gap in the areas that you don't have. And that is one of the things that's extremely important when it comes to business, life, relationships. You want to have language for who you are. So when you have language for who you are, you know exactly what you're looking for that's going to be complementary with you. One of my favorite things about this DISC assessment also is because, you know, ET's way is I want to succeed in every area and every aspect of life. One of the other gentlemen on the podcast is Jamal King, and he gave me that 5 pillars, which I've kind of like, edited mine for a little, like literally one pillar. But his is faith, family, finance. I think his is freedom and fitness, where mine is future and his is freedom. And those are 5 areas in his life that he's kind of surmised his life into these 5 areas. And that is where he wants to win in. And he's doing those things simultaneously. And we have 24 hours in a day. You could be extremely intentional with your time and how to do that. One thing that I am a firm believer in, because it is very true, in one area that does not have your immediate attention, like for right now, my attention is on my future, which is my podcast. It's something that I love. Like I said before in a previous podcast, this is like a love letter to my children, more specifically my daughter, because not only does it give like my son insight of my thinkings and things like that, but it's from her view. So it's also the perspective of a woman and what it's like to be a woman and what it's like to grow and evolve in your womanhood, because that's something that's extremely important. And though they experience these things with me in real time, they also get an opportunity to kind of get the unadulterated, slightly filtered, because this is forever, it's timeless, um, viewpoints of myself. And it's something that, it needs to happen and it needs to be said. So the DISC assessment is great because Eric and his team, they use this also as a form and a tool for couples counseling. They use this as a form and a tool as far as like how to best approach your children. And I have had my daughter get this assessment done as well. I do need to have my son take this assessment because it would be really nice to have all of our results and be able to navigate our lives together even more. I'm thankful that I've kind of created a little tight knit, not tight, tight, super tight, but a good bond between me and my kids. Like they get along fairly well. Um, we all get along fairly well with each other. And it's funny because I hear people say all the time, like, how is it having a teenage daughter? Like, da da da. And I was like, me and my daughter don't have those issues, because I'm very transparent with her, in which we can go over this in a different podcast, because an episode that I definitely want to do is the traumas of parenting. And I think that is an interesting topic because there is a lot of traumatic things that happen to you as a parent. And believe it or not, success is a trauma. So, giving birth is traumatic, child. Something wonderful happened at the end of it, but it is still a traumatic experience. And these conversations need to be had because a lot of times, look at me going off, but a lot of times we, in the moment, look at our parents and think that they should know everything and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And when I become a parent, this and this and this and that. And truly, it takes becoming a parent to understand that just because you have a child, just because of you're a certain age, doesn't mean that you have everything figured out. It's called giving grace, giving some grace. And that's something that is very important that we should be more intentional about is giving the grace and apologizing to our children if we you know did something wrong. Now I'm not saying you know, oh, you did this, I know you did it, and find out that they didn't do it. Apologize to your children, explain things to your children. Um, there's sometimes I want to go whoop de whoop upside my kid's head, but then there's times where I'm like, let's talk it out. Okay. I'm a firm believer that if your child can operate an electronic device, they have enough intelligence to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. So, disc assessment is wonderful for that. The Clifton Strongs I enjoy because it straight up focuses on your strength. It focuses on your strength, and I think that that is important because if you've ever been like me, like myself, and I kind of feel like that at times, even to this day, only because when you're operating in your gift, it is so natural because you've had it forever. It's so natural for you that you have no idea that you're doing it. You have zero awareness to this thing. You're fully operating, slaying dragons, and people are looking at you like you have 12 heads, and you're just like, this is what I do. This is just how I am. This is what I do. And it's an amazing thing, but we also have to know, hey, what are your strengths? And this is awesome because it breaks it down for you. One of the things that I will say about every single one of these assessments that I've taken, and I have one other one that I'm gonna have to do a little bit of digging for that. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of digging for that one. And I actually do not remember what the name of that is called. Look at me bringing something tantalating to you guys and not knowing the full tea. Ratchet. But there's another one that I took that I really like this, and this was for leadership purposes because I really wanted to understand the minds of their leaders and my age. And this was, I probably was like 31, and my mental age was that of someone that was 55 years old. Like my thinking, my rationale, my everything is just like years ahead of me. Like 20 plus years to be exact. And it was just so interesting because when you take these assessments, they are not asking you flat out direct questions that you think that they would ask you for your personality to be understood. And that's the part of it because your personality, um, especially with your strength and the disc assessment, Myers-Briggs, I, self-assessment, that's a definite strong like personality. But for the most part, we are a combination of natural gifts, natural things that were given to us by the creator that we have within ourselves that we just exude and we can't turn it off and we can't try. Like, I've literally had people tell me, especially when I am like very, very much like locked, super locked in, they'd be like, oh my God, you glow. You're like glowing. And I'm just like, okay. That's because they can recognize the power that I carry. Um, and that plays into that's something just natural. It's natural. It's a part of me. The other part to that kind of makes up that no, it doesn't kind of, it is how our character is made up, our character is built, is also through experiences in life does give us a new lens in which we see things. Some of it's rose color, some of it's shaded, some of it's crystal clear, some of it's tinted, some of it's like my glasses that got a little bit of smudge on them at all times. And I'm like, dang, my glass is always dirty. Um, but that is the overarching view of our personality. Um, a good a good chunk of it is learned things, and a good chunk of it is also innate God-given abilities. So, I'm extremely excited to dive deep into my results, share them with you, and maybe this will encourage you to also take the assessments. I believe that you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself out here on these streets, baby, because you want to have an awareness of yourself. And sometimes people will try to like gaslight you and make you feel like, oh, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, and this, that, and the third. I just like recently had that situation where I called a spade very early on in the game. And I do that even with movies. I'm kind of like, I'm I'm like Angela Lansbury, Jessica Fletcher, like Murder She Wrote. She had a strong spirit of discernment. And that is a gift. That is a strength. That's actually attention to detail. And we don't think about it that way, but that's what it is. She had a very strong attention to detail, which is a part of a spirit of discernment. You are able to decipher the things that people don't see. And that is a part of my gift. I don't always have to be a clanging cymbal and announce every single thing that I know. But what I am is collecting data. And I'm collecting data and I'm seeing and I'm observing. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Now I have to say, yes, I have this gift. Is it super strong? No, because it's activated in certain situations. Or I have to very much focus on this, which that's actually a part of one of my results. But I actually have to focus on that if it's something of like extreme detail that I'm executing on. But if it's something of extreme detail that I'm observing or experiencing, that's another thing. Hmm? That's a different level to it. And that's something that we're not having in casual conversations with our friends most of the time. And that's why I love this space and this place, because we can talk about these things and spark the conversation. I want us to exit into 2025 aware of who we are, because that's the thing nowadays. Like, what do you bring to the table? Who are you? What do you bring to the table? First of all, but second of all, you want to know who you are and what you bring to any table, and how would you build your table. More than that, you are a table builder. You are a carpenter, sweet cheeks. You as a carpenter, and you have to know what is your greatest materials. Are you a architect who can draft up the designs and gather the team and they execute the build? Because that is something that you bring to the table. In order to build a table, you do have to have a foundation and an outline. People don't think about that. So, going into 2025, I want us to come out on the other side knowing who we are, knowing whose we are. and knowing what we stand for and what we don't stand for, knowing what we will tolerate and what we won't tolerate, and acting accordingly. I know it's really popular for people to say, "Oh, I'm standing on business." And you know what? I was like getting the ick from that, but it's true. We have to stand on business. And there's something that I say, and people don't believe me until they gotta believe me, but I don't play about me. I don't play about my kids. But let's keep it more importantly about ourselves, because in order for us to be great parents, to not even be great parents, but in order to show up in every place that we go to, our optimal selves, we can't play about ourselves. So, what does that mean? I'm gonna make sure I'm getting some adequate sleep, child. I'm gonna make sure that I look cute, because if I look good, I feel good. Okay. I'm gonna make sure that my nails done, which they're not done right now. Don't judge me. But in the optimal scenario, like I'm making sure that I'm doing the external self-care, but also this is a part of internal self-care that they don't talk about. And I believe that if we shed a light on who we really are, there's a lot of people out there that have anxiety, have depression, because there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of unanswered questions. And not saying that, oh, the self-assessment is the pill of life, but it's actually a seed. And that's going to help you bloom and nurture and grow in yourself and be like, damn, like there are so many great things about me, because there are so many great things about you. But in order for you to know that, it's going to take someone, which is an assessment, right? These people don't know you. They're just collecting your responses and spitting it out for you. And you will be surprised that they're very spot on. So I do have a level of self-awareness that I'm like, yeah, these things are spot on. Like, because I know myself. And it is beneficial for you. So I'm very excited to share with you my results in the next episodes. But this has been, the intro to check yourself, wreck yourself. So you know what that means. That means, I gotta drop this and all the other episodes. It's like, just another one. I don't know what I'll start with. I mean, I do know, but you'll have to find out. Like I say on every podcast, you have survived 100% of the things that were sent to break you. So, with that being said, there's nothing that you can't achieve. And if you were listening to our little audio banger adjacent of Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, I want you to go back to those things that meant to break you and pull them out of the cookie jar. So when you're pursuing your next phase in life, hey, all this stuff in this cookie jar, I've been did that. Brain surgery, I've been did that. My mom dying from cancer, I've been did that. My grandmother dying from COVID, that's in my cookie jar. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt any less, but it just means that anything moving forward can never be as hard as the things that you already had to go through. So we're not going over, we're going through, because the journey is in the through. See you next time.